Hey singers, I'm Laura, and this is the weekly warm-up where I share clear, fun voice education so you can enjoy your singing even more. Today, I'm going to show you how to make each of the 5 major singing vowels, plus one bonus. I'm going to show you exactly what to do with your mouth to make those vowels clear, tension-free, and beautiful for singing. So stick around. So if you are a longtime viewer, you might remember that years and years ago, one of the first videos I made was in fact a rundown of the 6 major singing vowels. And today I'm going to show you again how to do those with the addition of helping you troubleshoot some of the problems that can come up with each of the vowels. So as we did then, we're going to begin with the 2 tongue vowels. Those are E and E. And I want to tell you before I start running through these that I've created a little PDF for you that's going to show you exactly how to make each of these vowels. It's something that you can print and put right inside your choir folder. So if you are holding a long ah vowel and you want to know kind of what's going wrong, you can just check the sheet and correct it. So make sure you check in the description box so that you can download that. It's totally free. And let's get on with these tongue vowels. So for E, what do you think you have to do to make an E? When you go to make E, what happens is you're making 3 points of contact between your tongue and your teeth. So, tip of the tongue will be against the back of the bottom teeth, and then the sides of the tongue will be up against the top molars. That might sound totally crazy, but if you say something like 3, when you do that, feel what the tongue is doing. 3. Can you feel that? The tongue is in fact touching the top molars on the sides, and then the tip of the tongue should be touching the back of the bottom teeth. If those 3 points of contact are in place, then the tongue will be steeply angled and the E vowel will be clear. If you were surprised to hear that the kind of spreading of the mouth or bringing the jaws close together is not required, well, please try this. Put those 3 points of contact in place. E, and now move the jaw and the lips all around. E. It does not change the vowel. So the big troubleshooting element for E is to make sure that the jaw is released and the lip is released. There is no benefit to spreading your E vowel, so you don't need to do that. You've saved yourself some work and some vocal tension. Let's move on to E. Now, E is similar to E. E has a very steeply angled tongue, and then E is going to be a slightly shallower angle. And the point of contact between the tongue and the top teeth will be slightly farther back and slightly farther out, like to the outside of the teeth. So on E, I feel my tongue touching my top teeth kind of on their inside edge. And on E, it's farther back and on the outside edge. So go back and forth between those. E, Great. Now, here's a troubleshooting moment. As you transition between those two, is the tip of the tongue coming away from the back of the bottom teeth? You're going to hear me say this a lot today. The tip of the tongue should stay against the back of the bottom teeth for vowel clarity. Anytime the tongue is sort of receding back into the throat, you're going to get a little bit of that fuzziness, that retracted sound. So let's stay away from that. Keep the tip of the tongue forward and actually in contact. I will also say, can be a bit of a hard vowel to find or to balance exactly right, because you've probably heard the terms open and closed E. Open would be something like bed or let, get, bet, whereas that closed E, the pure form is really not found very often in English, but it would be something like bene, a slightly kind of more in between E and A sound. What I would recommend is that in the sort of speech range of your voice, if you're singing in English, I would use those 3 words, let, bet, get, as your model for the shape in your mouth. It's very, very common for to become very almost like hat or cat. If that vowel is coming up, it's likely that you've lost contact with your top teeth. So let, bet, get, that's going to be a nice kind of middle of the road open E. In higher ranges, you might try shifting your vowel slightly toward I, like pink or think. That will help to keep the palate really lifted as you transition up into higher notes. So those are kind of your user's manual tips for open E, which is the E sound. And now we've done E and E, the tongue vowels, and we're ready to get the tongue out of the way completely. So this is where we get that sort of asterisk, that sixth vowel. It's not one of the A-E-I-O-U ones that we think of as classic, but in fact, this vowel, the one that we create when we drop the tongue completely, the jaw is neutral, the lips are neutral, and the tongue is neutral. This is called schwa. I'll put the spelling of it here. This is the sort of neutral vowel. Versions of it exist in many, many languages, and the version in American English is quite kind of open and dropped. So, if you kind of just do nothing with your face, imagine you're vegging out in front of the TV and make a sound. So when you feel that, that is that schwa sound. And here, this vowel is kind of unusual because we don't think of it, again, as one of the major vowels, but in American English, it comes up all the time. Almost every time a vowel is unaccented. So for singing, to make it more beautiful, I would recommend that you take a tip from the British. Generally, Americans tend to open the schwa, when they're singing it, they tend to open the schwa almost toward ah, so it really becomes quite pulled down. And I think that there are sort of tuning drawbacks to that, and the sound becomes quite diffuse. Generally, in British English, the schwa sound is slightly rounded and heightened toward an open oo, a sort of look, book, took sound. That sounds quite extreme, but listen to the difference between the store and the store. Can you hear how the sound is naturally riding a little bit higher up and farther forward in my mouth? So instead of and it has a long way to go before it really gets to which is what we don't want. That's a whole different thing entirely. So my tip for you on schwa is that for singing, try to place it higher and more forward than you naturally would in speech. And that means trying to round it a little bit toward open oo, open u, which is the look, book, took sound. And I think it will stay slightly in line in terms of resonance, a little bit better with your other vowels. So now we've done e, we've dropped completely to our and now heightened it a little bit toward and now we can get to our vowel. This is kind of the apex, the most open vowel, and there is so much singing that happens on amen, alleluia, It's a wonderful vowel, but boy, can a lot of things go wrong because it is so open. So let's just check out how it's made. The tongue, you guessed it, it's against the back of the bottom teeth. Now, the angle of the tongue you can play with. If you want it a little more angled, it will brighten the sound a little bit more toward a music theater-y sound. If it's a little more dropped, you'll get a little bit more of that kind of darkness into the tone of your It's opening the pharynx a little bit. Either way, the tip of the tongue needs to stay forward against the back of the bottom teeth. We also need some kind of vertical space in the mouth. So you've probably heard the term drop your jaw. Do it, but not too much. Here, when we drop the jaw, I want you to put your fingers on your jaw joints and just let the jaw hang vertically. See how far I can open my mouth without going to the dislocation point of the jaw. So I'm gonna actually keep going to where I feel the jaw joint popping out. You could see my finger pop. I don't know if you could actually hear that. I could inside my head, but let's do that one more time. So I'm dropping, and then I don't need to go to that dislocation point to make a spacious So now, if I've got that kind of vertical drop, what I can think about here is matching that vertical drop with lift in the palate. This is super important. Without lift in the palate, it will always continue to be schwa. I have to lift the roof of my mouth for it to really sound truly like an vowel. So be sure that you're getting some vertical drop and also some vertical lift. How to create that lift? You can think about biting into an apple. You can think about yawn space if that works for you, although be careful, that doesn't make the sound fall back. oh, but we want something nice and tall. I like to imagine that I'm matching the amount of drop with the amount of lift. Ah. Now here are a couple of troubleshooting ideas to watch for. On ah, you should definitely try looking in the mirror because you might see some things that are interesting. Number one, you might catch yourself just opening your mouth as wide as you possibly can. Not necessary. That creates so much wear and tear on your jaw joint. Ah, too much. What about if you see this? Ah. Can you see that I can see only my bottom teeth? That's probably a sign that I am dropping more than I'm lifting. So if I think about biting into that apple, ah, now I can see my top teeth. This does not have to be like a wild dog, like kind of situation, but you should see that you have top teeth, and always only seeing your bottom teeth is a sign that your ah vowel is overbalanced toward the bottom. Check in with that tongue, make sure that it is sliding forward to touch the back of the bottom teeth. And if you want to brighten that sound, as I said before, try angling it. As long as it's not touching the top molars, it will not change into an E or an A. Ah, that's a more angled than ah. And all I'm doing is just changing the angle of the tongue. Terrific. That was the hardest one. If you've got ah, the rest is pretty easy. For o and oo, we are just going to round the lips. Now, when I say round the lips, I don't mean the donut muscle. You will know immediately when you see me do this that this is not the correct way. Oh, not nice, right? It's terrible. So let's use kind of these more fan-shaped muscles here. You can think particularly of using the muscles of the top lip to round into that really round shape, but you really are looking for a circle. You want to look like that kid on the Christmas card. Oh, holy night, not oh, holy night, okay? So if you see this kind of like bean shape of mouth, that is not an accurate or a clear o or oo. You want to get a little bit more drop, a little more roundness in the lips. Another thing to watch for is that when we go from ah toward o and oo, it's very common to have the jaw slide forward. Now, check this out. So from ah, if I start to notice that my lower lip is wrapping up over my bottom teeth, ah, that's giving me that kind of AW sound. I can kind of try to round that into an O, ah, but you can feel it really retracts the tongue, it muddies the vowel, and it is not comfortable. So again, think about making your O and oo vowels, and the difference between them is just a matter of degree. How tightly closed are the lips, or how tight is that circle? But you want to really think about making it with the top lip rather than kind of lifting from underneath. That will help to avoid both the kind of and any kind of scooping up from underneath. So that's it. Now you know not only what to do, but also what to avoid doing. What kind of problems might be creating a little bit of excess tension or some lack of clarity in the vowels. Because really, if you can have 5 clear Italian vowels, E, E, A, O, U, and then you can also have that schwa that is nice and high and slightly rounded at your disposal, then you can sing in English and in most European languages with beautiful diction and without any additional tensions in the throat and the mouth. So I hope that that was useful. Thank you as always for spending time with me. I just love singing with you, and I'm so grateful for your time. I would also be grateful if you would click the thumbs up button or subscribe to the channel, and whatever happens, come back next Thursday. Let's sing again next Thursday. I'll share some more clear, fun voice education, and in the meanwhile, thanks for practicing.